Sure.
It goes, recording in progress.
Mine said, "This meeting is being recorded."
Yeah, no,
Same difference.
I think that the here in the United States we're in like a bit of a bubble with the amount of vaccinations we've had, but it does feel like the rest of the world is not in the same boat.
Well,
At least yet.
sure. I mean, we're holding. We got most of the vaccinations. We got most of the stuff.
Stock holding the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And
mean, in light of the fact that certain people are just not going to go with it, like the
right.
evangelical Christians are basically saying nay. And what are they, 30, 40% of the population here?
Yeah, probably.
So,
Yep.
like, that whole idea of herd immunity that's a pipe dream. That's gone.
Right.
You
And
know,
those people are, we I think the with the Delta on the rise, it's just going to be not as dramatic as before, but it's just going to be this kind of on off again sort of like thing, which makes for this kind of awkward. It doesn't feel resolved. That's what I'm saying. Like I think the hope for like this resolve to occur may not occur very quickly. I think it's going to be this slow gradient thing. That's
downward is that what you imply by doing
I
that with your
I
head?
this is the hopeful gradient.
That so the hope is going down.
The hope, no, I mean like the hope is that it does go down like this.
Oh, I
But
understand now.
then again, like who knows, man? You can't make some. I don't know enough about disease to know, but I feel like something like polio, for example, might have once you've created a vaccine for that type of a disease, it's not able to mutate in so many ways constantly. Like a coronavirus is like in the family of the cold, so it can just always be mutating all the time.
Sure. So in one way, shape, or form, COVID is here to stay.
That's yes, for sure. And then also like how long are our vaccinations going to work? You know what I mean? And when's the next variant, that's related to Delta with the same contagious factor mixed with doesn't work with or our vaccine may not work on the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is the thing you can't plan for is the mutation. This is
Right.
something they're going to be chasing for a while.
Right.
Um, and I agree. It's like, okay, drive through Starbucks, they're wearing masks in there.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, all right. So there's no mandate for the state,
Right.
but certain people are just like, yeah, not
Yep.
yet.
Not yet.
Where
Yep.
where where are you with all that?
I'm feeling pretty good about not wearing masks because I'm vaccinated. My wife's vaccinated. I'm not concerned about spreading it right now or anything like that. I do have our kids wear masks if we go into public places because they don't have any vaccination. I mean,
Oh, that's right. There's a whole segment that you
yeah.
can still transmit the disease
Hmm.
the disease to
Hmm.
and not even know it really because I mean,
Right. The likelihood of them showing many symptoms are minimal. You know what I mean? you know.
yeah.
But they could be spreading it around to people, and they could be getting it. And in some cases, you might be one of the unlucky ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you might give it to your kid by accident.
And that kid might be one of the unlucky ones who,
Yeah.
is beats the odds and actually has to go to the hospital or something.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's still deep out there. I think that once again we're looking at capitalism as a you know as a weapon.
Hmm.
They've weaponized capitalism in respect to okay, well, the Dow Jones is suffering. This COVID thing is messing up my money.
Hmm.
So it's time to tell them it's cool, even if it ain't.
Right.
That's how I feel about it.
You feel like it's not cool. Hmm.
I feel like it's not cool. I feel like you could. I mean, you remember how things were after 9/11.
Hmm.
Like they just kept everybody riveted like a bunch of idiots looking at this imaginary, you know,
Hmm.
chart of okay, this is how much danger we're going. Okay, it's the alert today is orange. It's
Yeah.
orange, so you should be on the lookout. I mean, there's no
I
clear
forgot
and
about the
present
I
danger.
forgot about the coloring system.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do remember that.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
Well, it's
yeah.
red. It's red now. Oh, we're headed towards yellow.
We're headed towards
Now,
yellow.
don't panic.
No panic.
There's nothing to see,
Yep.
but keep your eyes open.
Right.
Like you could keep somebody on that hook for who knows, man. That was years.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like that's what's happening here.
That's what I mean with the weirdness. That defines my weird feeling, where it's like not. I don't feel comfortable. There isn't resolution. People aren't sure about it.
yeah, it's you we're being gaslit constantly. It's
You're being
like
gaslit, and there is a reality of something out there. So it's both mixed together. It's like there's
which is the best possible situation
yeah, it's the
for
best.
those in power. You
Yep.
know, like
Yep.
okay, they don't really know what to think. That's the goal. Is to
That's the
keep
goal,
everybody just like, I don't know if I'm coming or going.
right?
What is this thing? Is it safe to go outside or should I? Okay, well now wait a minute.
Right. Mm.
They've got it on both. They got us coming and going, man.
They do. I think
Yeah,
LA is back on masks, I believe, in public, or
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, needless to say, I'm supposed to go on tour in under 2 weeks. It's like, what happens when we get out there
right,
and it just, you know, the Delta variant has gone awry. You know,
right.
even worse than it's been. It's like it's funny because I'm like, I wonder how much time we're supposed to be out for 7 weeks. Who knows how long we're gonna actually
Be
be out
gone.
before it's like, okay, well, those gigs have been postponed. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
the bus heads back to Minneapolis, and that's that.
And
You
who
know,
knows what kind of draw? Yeah, because everybody's feeling pensive. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
that makes it weird for us entertainers to really plan and book things because we don't
sure.
know
hmm
who's even going to show up.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for us, 75% of our shows this summer are
Or
outdoor.
outside, yeah, and that's going to always help. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Um, I haven't asked about, ticket sales or what things look like because I'm not that guy. I have enough to consider just, did I take everything with me that I need for the 7 weeks,
yeah.
Like that's kind of the headspace I'm in now. I was telling JT last night at rehearsal, I'm like, dude, it's like I wake up in the middle of the night stressing about this tour.
Hmm.
I haven't had a solid night's sleep in a little while now. It's
Yeah,
like I'm,
yeah.
and I will, it's because I'm that age where it's like if I sleep in the wrong position, my back will be
Messed
howling
up.
at me all day.
Howling.
For a whole day, I'll be, oh, oh. So,
Yeah,
being a drummer, like, it's
yeah,
just, all my joints are shot anyway.
yeah,
So, the back just, it's it
yeah.
goes, it's par for the course. Anyway, um, yeah, it's such a mysterious time now. It's like, what is the CDC saying? And what influence did the Trump administration have on,
On
on
all of it.
messing up their status?
Hmm.
Like you used to feel like you could trust the CDC. Now I'm like, I don't even.
Don't even know. Yeah, yeah. Like I
Who
take it
knows?
into account. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's yeah. I check on it, and then yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, yeah.
Do you believe it? You know?
It's almost like you just have to, yeah, put all the information that you could find together and kind of come up with your own answer.
Yeah, that's a problem. When facts can't be agreed upon,
Hmm.
that's a real problem.
It's a dangerous recipe, yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
lots of things. Yeah, I have also felt like that too. I think, which is the other thing of the weirdness is like, I feel like there's a consciousness collectively that's on edge, and I'm just a little concerned that there's going to be more just unrest of some kind. I don't even know if it's going to be related to I don't know what it's going to be related to. You know what I mean? I mean, I
Yeah,
could take a few guesses, but but I feel like it's, yeah, like we're on the edge of some other big news story of something being something big happening.
yeah. It's been too kind of like at one level for too
Mm-hmm.
long here.
Mm-hmm.
That something got to give.
Right, and it's not reducing enough to feel more comfortable. That's what I'm saying. It's just
Hmm.
sort of it's just kind of simmering.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
on the simmer. Exactly.
yeah,
It's
which
like,
is just makes me nervous, and you know what
I
I mean.
mean, yeah, I mean, and while we're at it, this would be the segue into discussing, what we don't know, which is the
Yeah.
upcoming single. It's like, as you know,
Hmm.
we've played it for some of our peers, and they don't seem to actually understand,
The
straight
message.
away what the
Yeah.
message is. And it's just what we just discussed right
It's the
now. We're
simmer.
in
It's that simmer. It's
it's
the
the
it.
simmer. It's the state of panic without actually panicking.
Right.
It's like, it's you ready for something, but you don't know what.
Right. And trying to find some semblance of solace in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
How do you,
yeah.
how can you sleep just,
Hmm.
in this uh space of
Of just
uncertainty?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I haven't
Uh,
slept well either. That's weird.
hmm
That's
That's
weird.
what, yeah, that's what we don't know is about. It's
Hmm.
like, it's all the different combinations and possibilities that exist within our acknowledged world.
Hmm.
And you'd think, with being living in the information age, you could count on something.
Yeah.
Something
Yep.
could be your bedrock,
Right.
your touchstone, and that's just non-existent right now. There's
Almost the opposite. Yeah. Mhm.
All bets are off. Everything is or infirm, unfirm, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just there's no way of knowing anything for sure right now.
Yep.
Except
And
rich people are getting richer and poor people are getting poorer.
yes,
We know those things.
at an exponential rate, like beyond what we've ever seen, in at least in the last very long time.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching people launch their own, spaceships.
Right, like one after the other.
Yeah,
It's like
like, this is just common. Oh,
is
okay, great.
yeah, Elon should be next week.
Uh huh. On
Yeah,
a schedule.
yeah, yeah. First, yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
and I read a friend of mine had posted something about everybody's upset about these millionaires, billionaires,
mm-hmm,
just taking off whenever they feel like it into space.
mm-hmm.
It's like, well, they can do whatever they want with their money,
Right.
and that much is true. But
Yep.
if you really don't support them, then
Yeah.
you gotta stop using their conveniences.
Right.
You don't like what Bezos is doing? Don't use Amazon.
Right.
Stop. And then you're faced with the same dilemma.
Which
You
is
know,
like, yeah, how do you function in a pandemic without it?
I
You know
mean,
what I
it's
mean?
essentially, yeah, it's the same with like a place like Walmart. Like,
Mhm.
situations, are made so convenient and prices are made so cheap. It's difficult to actually, move along without those things.
Right. And for the last year, it was by far the safest option. So, like, if you could afford to, and if you had access to Amazon, why would you'd almost be making the wrong choice not using
Right.
it. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Exactly. That's again, I guess I didn't intend on going on a whole tirade involving the weaponization of capitalism, but it's
Yeah,
really all kind of falling on under that heading. Is
it
the more
is.
we talk, I'm realizing
It
that
totally
really
is.
is the point of this discussion is just
Yep. Oh yeah, because it's so interrelated with what we're dealing with here.
well,
Zuckerberg and his Facebook and um,
mhm.
Instagram plus WhatsApp. That's a lot. That's the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
do.
even right now, I think there's lawsuits going on trying to figure out how to reduce that monopoly because it's too big. It's just beyond what anybody ever thought was possible as far as
Yeah.
social media goes.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah. It's sorry. Go ahead.
well, and also just the way that information can be spread on those platforms, we don't we don't need to base things in fact anymore. That's kind of a thing of the past. So now it creates such a, a fertile environment to spread any misinformation of any kind, any which way,
Yeah. I
at
wonder if
almost any time. You know what I mean?
that could have been the plan all along.
Hmm.
Is you confuse people to the point of exhaustion,
Right.
then they're just going to have to accept whatever reality you decide to show them.
Hmm.
Like it's impossible to get everybody on the same chunk of land, the
Right.
same ideology, the
Hmm.
same, we don't have the same goals.
Right.
We don't have the same outlook. We don't have the same hopes or dreams. Everybody's got a different picture of what
Actually happening. Yeah.
what is actually happening and what is to be. Like it's crazy. I think that
Hmm.
really is the secret, which is, I mean, and that goes back to, I have to blackify everything, Ryan. I always have to
Hmm.
come from where I come from. Is the all Judas and the Black Messiah.
Hmm.
You see that, you know, the the idea was to prevent having a Black Messiah, somebody who can unify.
Hmm.
Unification is always dangerous to those in power.
True.
you know so it's that thing. It's like if you keep things unstable, then you can have your way with everybody.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it might be just a basic fact of life
Yeah.
that if you keep everybody in confusion, you can control everything.
Yeah. That's true.
If, it's I mean, God forbid, poor whites decide and figure out they have more in common with poor black people.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they don't want, is the
Right.
realization. And it's funny because I think a lot of poor whites, they're not really, like, they're tone deaf to the fact that they're pawns in the game.
They don't know that. Yeah. They're unaware of that. And actually, it's just too hurtful to even think that way, I think to them.
You think it causes like trauma
Yeah.
for them to have to entertain the idea
Hmm.
that it's not it's the color, the racist thing is not,
Hmm.
that's not really the end goal.
Hmm.
The end goal is not to get you to hate. The end goal is to take advantage of you and
Right.
keep your thumb on the scale,
Right.
you know and while they mess around with everybody
Right.
and
And so,
convince you that,
yeah.
well, at least we have this skin color in common. But
Right.
that's it. That's where the similarities.
Begin and end.
Yes, that's all
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is. And it's like I
Yeah.
guess it's confounded me that poor white people can't. Well, I guess to face it is to be able to do something about it. But as long as they don't want to
True.
face it, nothing will change.
But to face it is to face your own identity, and that's hard.
That's fair, but I mean,
But also just yeah, I mean, with any group of people that are in a situation that's less than desirable, they uh I don't know if I have a good answer for this. I'm just thinking of the schools they go to,
Mhm.
the opportunities that are available in those areas in rural United States or in Appalachia or wherever they are. In a trailer park, it's hard to find opportunities beyond what you see near you.
Well,
You
I think that's true of anybody who has been disenfranchised.
right, and you don't have parents who are valuing education. They're not. You know what I mean?
Again, you're talking about the same thing,
The same
the
issues that
ghetto or the trailer park.
yeah, yeah.
Same thing. If you don't edify education,
What's that?
you don't.
I can't remember his name. He's out of Kentucky. He's a or he was running for governor of Kentucky last year, but he's great. I'll think of his name. But he
Okay.
was saying his main slogan was like from the hood to the holler.
Oh, for real? All
Yep,
right.
yep, black dude, awesome guy. I can't remember his name, but he was running for governor last year in Kentucky. And that was like his thing. It was like, if we can bring these two concepts together, um, you
Yeah.
know, because
Well,
how many people from the holler can keep voting for Mitch McConnell or somebody who's just has
just
no,
against their own better interests.
yeah, yeah,
It's like, how can you
yeah,
be so hateful that you'll vote against something that will also help you?
right, exactly,
Like,
yep,
it's like, okay, you want to keep all the minorities down, great, okay, but
yep,
you're oppressing yourself at some point. It's like,
yeah.
okay, like how strong is your hate?
But without,
Yeah,
it's if you're unaware of how this, I don't know. I shouldn't keep. I'm not saying these people are dumb because I don't believe that at all. I just think that if you're not exposed to some of this information, you wouldn't know that that's what's
yeah.
happening.
Well, okay, Ryan, but I mean, I think it's uh, uh, the reality is this: is that any white person over the age of 25 what it's knows enough about being black in America to know that it's not something they want to be.
Yeah,
You
I
can't keep
I could buy that.
apologizing and saying, "Oh, well, they just don't know." It's like, no, they know
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
these same people buy as much more hip hop than black people do. They know.
Well, what I mean is they may not recognize the power structure that's working against them. Is what I was really referring to. Not not their own
Okay,
racism.
I'll just say, I'll just say this: that I think at least I don't know about that, but I do agree with you that the reality uh, of uh, of white America is that that's to face
Yeah,
to face the real history of it all
right.
and to identify in one way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
I've been inundated on purpose. My mind has just been bathing in just one lecture after another by James Baldwin
Oh,
on
sure.
YouTube,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it just the knowledge is never ending. It's all coming at you,
Hmm.
and it's you. I think it's no longer an excuse. It's not a valid
Oh,
excuse to
to
say
say that
anybody
you're
doesn't know.
unaware. Mm,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
no. We live in in an age, and there's enough going on the news and in the world that people know.
well, but
And
then in that case, you could argue they're just in a state of denial. You know what I mean?
denial, or yeah, I think it's much more. You were closer to it,
Hmm.
in my opinion, when you were saying that it's a difficult reality to face, but it
Hmm.
still is white America's responsibility to face it, because
Right,
ultimately the problem begins and ends with white
right,
America.
right.
It ain't really black
Hmm.
people's problem. We don't have a problem with nobody.
Right.
Just leave us alone and let us live. That's
Hmm.
it. That's the problem. Why are you messing with me? Right?
Right. That's pretty
You
simple.
know,
Yeah.
and obviously, the white man is is reliant upon uh, his viewpoint or assessment of the situation. Like, to imagine a black person being more than what they can conceive,
Hmm.
you know, that's scary. That's frightening, because if you have no idea, you know, who uh, black people are,
Hmm.
then you don't know who you are, because you are dealing with everything in relation to, the lens of white supremacy.
Hmm.
So whatever you're familiar with is what's going to make you comfortable.
Sure.
So the idea that black people all of a sudden say, forget that, we're going to define ourselves. We're going to do things you never thought was possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Then what am I? Who are we? You know,
Right. Right.
it
Yep.
causes an identity crisis.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but
Which
again,
trickles all the
it's
way
like,
down to poor whites. Yeah.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows who they are anymore. If black people are not, the least, you know,
Ah. Yeah.
if not the worst treated, like it's the gauge everybody uses to go by. We are the watermark.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows, enough about how bad it is in America to be us.
Mm-hmm.
They know they don't want to be us, but they don't want to, you
Right.
know, go through the rest of the analysis of
Right.
self, of identity,
Mm-hmm.
of why is this necessary? We didn't call ourselves Negroes. Like,
Right.
why is a Negro necessary for you in society?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you're going to gauge your own existence by.
Bye.
Whoever's the lowest rung on the ladder,
Mm-hmm.
Also why, you know, that whole stop Asian hate, they stopped it. Look, yeah, the shortest time it took for a piece of legislation, you
To
know,
go through.
yeah, nope, they stopped it. Okay, we're
Yep.
cool now.
Yep.
But black people are still waiting on the George Floyd bill.
Mm.
Like there's causality behind this. There's cause.
Well, in reality, there's a lot more money to be made on the subjugation of black people and poor whites than there is to probably the smaller Asian population here. You
You're
know what I
probably
mean?
right. It probably ultimately comes down to green,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's just a reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is it's whites who are not in power need to begin to understand,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really going to take white people to talk to white people. They haven't believed us since we've been here. you,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
So it's all very peculiar, Ryan.
It's yeah. It's a but it's a I don't know what I was gonna say. It's maybe it's good that we're doing it. As this is a weird time to be doing it, but I think without these circumstances of a pandemic, I'm not sure we would have even done it or started.
That's fair. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that
I'm not saying we've done it. I'm not saying we've accomplished much, but I'm saying at least the conversations are starting to happen. And
well, we've reached another point in human history where suffering is not exclusive.
mm-hmm.
That's what I think it is that people are realizing what they have in common more so than what
What
differentiates us.
differentiates? Yep.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you got people in your family dying of COVID. Them people got people dying of COVID in their family.
Right.
So on and so forth. It's like, okay, like prices are getting raised all over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try everybody could use a higher minimum wage,
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the unifying things, the things that touch every community, irrespective of color.
Yep.
There's a lot more of that to go around right now,
Right.
and everybody's getting sick and tired at the same time. It's like it's amazing to me that we haven't had an actual proper civil war yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
It's
do.
like I don't
Yeah.
mean to be. I'm not
Yeah. You're not
a rabble rouser by any stretch of the imagination,
mm-hmm.
but it's astounding to me that people are so passive and not necessarily. I don't think anybody is super satisfied with the way things are going. But if this was France, people out in the street almost like every other day in Paris, just banging them trash can lids and got war paint on and just cussing the police out.
Yeah.
They look for reasons to speak out
Getting
against the
started.
government.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you just in the middle of traffic in the middle of the afternoon, sacre bleu. They
Well,
get mad. It's like who knows what it's going to take for you know American society en masse to just get upset.
yeah. Well, that's also part of the simmer that I was saying. Like, I kind of feel like it is
Fair enough. Yeah.
close to that, or in the ballpark.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
like it can't it can't stay here.
Mm-mm. I mean,
Something is going to happen. A gear is going to slip.
there need.
It,
I hope it doesn't, but I think that we need to stay cognizant of just trying to understand and not even agree. We don't need to agree, but
I agree with that. I like it because people are. I mean, even black people. We're not a monolith. It's
right,
what do black people want? Black people want a lot of different things.
right, right.
But that's my favorite. White question of the hour.
Mm.
What do you guys want? Listen, man. We never asked for anything that wasn't supposed to be coming to us.
Right.
The Constitution's supposed to cover it.
Hmm.
Like, because to imply that, I mean, I guess that's my major beef as of late is that who are you? Well, number one, to try to stop people from
Mm.
uh, protesting for human rights.
Hmm.
You know, I'm a human. It should automatically just come to me.
Hmm.
Like, so to even have to protest, I'm already getting hot about that.
Hmm.
Who are you to decide what my human rights are going to be or not be? Because if you can give them to me, that means you can also take them away.
Hmm.
So there's a point at which I think, a member of the evolved species has to say, first off, you don't. There may have been chains on my ancestors, but the reality is this: is that you need to ask yourself who you think you are to be in a
Yeah.
position of power to decide for others
Hmm.
their right to exist, their right to,
Hmm.
you know, their rights. Period.
In general,
That's
yeah.
crazy to me that somebody thinks they have the authority,
Hmm.
and they act on it and so on and so forth. They either have the resources
Hmm.
or the ideological support
Right,
because to deny others is to make out better for self.
right.
That's just again it's like the immutable laws of physics. That's just the truth, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, this state of not knowing is tricky one because we're not.
Mhm.
I mean, I suppose for us in entertainment, it's somewhat enhanced too because the stuff we do, the things you and I do,
Mhm.
and make our living doing and everything
Yeah.
is requiring lots of people to get together all in one place at one time.
Yes, and I do feel a change, but it's going
Yeah.
to be
Mm.
the first thing that I think it's fair that the first step from here is into chaos.
Mm.
It's into an unknown space where anything can happen.
Hmm.
That's the purpose of protest is to interrupt,
It's the status quo. Yeah. Hmm.
you know. And I actually in preparation for this, I wrote down some things I
Some
wanted
points.
to go
Yeah.
go well get the to back the ball back and forth with you
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
since
Hmm.
these latest songs you've been working on have been probably the most collaborative of anything we've worked on in years.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like we really are, at a point where your words are my words are your words.
True.
You
Hmm.
know, and even down to the editing of the video for the new single, what we don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um, but I was thinking the other day, it's like I guess I was like, okay, when you make protest music, you can't help but sort of harken back to the last time any major protest really happened in this country, which would have been the '60s.
Right.
And you're not Bob Dylan, I'm not Bob Dylan,
Right. Right.
but this song has an aspect of like blowing in the wind.
Sure.
It's like, who knows?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
it's and
Yeah. It does, and yeah, I don't know what to say about that other than just that it is like that.
it is
It really
like that,
is. It is like that because we're not trying to give an answer. There is no solution. It's not a because that's not the feeling that I'm feeling or you're feeling right now.
That's
We
right.
don't.
It's asking a lot of important questions and offering no direct answers because there aren't any.
There's none right now.
Yeah. So just
Everything
for
is.
anybody who's gonna,
Mhm.
get salty about that or uneven or frustrated,
Right. I
just
don't know what
just
the message was.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, should we
Yeah.
care about? I don't think we should be concerned about that at all. Art is subjective.
Well, we're just commenting on what we're seeing, not on what's going to
Not even on what's
happen.
happening to us directly. I mean, for
Yeah.
you
Yep. Yep.
as a white person, you know that,
Mm-hmm.
suffering is at an all-time low in your tax bracket,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
well,
Mm-hmm.
not an all-time low, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't catch a lot of heat that a lot of other people are catching. So
Absolutely.
let's just be honest and direct about that up front because
Mm-hmm.
we know that people got a lot of issues with you.
Mm-hmm.
They like to confront you because of your dreads.
Mm-hmm.
They like to uh, imagine that you're centering your own experience.
Mm.
When we're working on these songs, they
Right.
imagine
And
that.
oftentimes they're unaware of your presence too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
uh,
you're like
sure.
a cloaked uh,
Yeah, and that's
figure
all
that's
right.
behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
I
You know
mean,
what I
but
mean?
then now they'll anybody who really wants to know will be able to look at this interview
Yeah, and
with a
say like,
little
oh
back
yes,
and forth and say, "Oh, okay. Well, it's not like his view is completely uninformed."
right,
You know,
right.
and whoever's upset with you being the mouthpiece has got bigger issues than just that.
Well, they're actually exhibiting the behaviors they claim to be trying to fight against.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's funny because I actually didn't know. Um, I ended up watching um this guy named Chris McDread
Mm.
on YouTube today talking about how any uncombed hair
Hmm.
will form into dreadlocks. It's not
Absolutely.
exactly appropriation, and
Hmm.
even in some African tribes, like
Hmm.
the men can wear dreads, but the women can't.
Right,
Or
right,
like
right,
the warriors can wear them, but the elders can't. Like it's a
right.
lot more specific
Hmm.
than It's like even I mean, I can argue any side. That's part of the
Sure.
genius of me.
Of
But today, I'm going to argue against the concept of cultural appropriation. I felt many ways about it, but for the
yeah,
purpose
yeah.
of today's, you know,
Mm.
context and how I feel about it right now, and
Hmm.
you've heard me say many times, black culture is American culture,
Yeah, yeah.
and the reality is that people got a lot of different hangups,
Hmm.
and it's in a weird way, it's kind of an extension of even what we're talking about within the latest songs we've been,
Hmm.
working on.
Yeah.
It's even that the fact that you know the it's not enough to get the truth. It
Hmm.
is who's giving you the truth.
Right,
You know, what color are they? What is their experience?
right,
Like you don't have to have gone through. You don't
right.
have to get shot to know it's a bad situation.
It's a
You know,
bad scene.
yeah, to know it's destructive.
Yep, yep.
And in a way, it's like, yeah, it's going to take white people acknowledging the reality of society along with everybody else.
Hmm.
So it's and I find it funny and interesting that the majority of the heat you get
Hmm.
is from I guess what we would call in this day and age white liberals.
Right.
The white people who think they're so woke that they're checking your they're checking you for appropriation
Right,
because they're checking themselves every day.
right. And trying to keep,
Like they're
yeah, trying to make these defining lines. I mean, yeah, and I don't want to call them out just as a group. But I think one of the problems whites have had in this country for a long time is trying to put everything in boxes that are clearly defined, that can be separated apart and put into
Hmm.
corners, and this goes here and that goes there, and now everything's organized. Like everybody's, you know.
Well, but that's comes right out of the colonizer handbook.
Right, and I don't
You,
think they realize they're even doing that, but it's like that is the same type of thing where you're defining what is and what can be and what should be, and culture is something that's fluid. It just flows through like air,
well,
and
again, but this is the thing to remember is that um, racism manifests itself in the unchecked, everyday normalization.
right,
Just like
right,
it occurs on a level in which you don't notice.
right,
It's always happening, and it's in the unchecked, quote unquote normal. It
yep,
is a thing that canvases our entire experience. If you
absolutely,
live in this country, you are not exempt to, the influence
right,
of
absolutely.
just the white supremacist power structure. Black, white, everybody. We find ourselves racist against ourselves sometimes. You
Yep.
know,